Greetings, I'm Billy Heyen, and I'd like to welcome you to my show, Literary Liberation.
That's funny.
Boy.
Your
yeah,
mom.
this is my woo-woo!
Well, anyways,
Choo-choo.
today we will be discussing a fascinating novel by a very famous author.
Billy.
He being Kurt Vonnegut, and the novel being Cat's Cradle. This novel is told in a first-person point of view, narrated by a man whose thoughts soon become familiar to the readers. His name is John. John is a reporter, and ambitiously he is looking to write a book, which he will title The Day the World Ended. John's goal was to research the event through Felix Honecker, one of the fathers of the atomic bomb. It would not be that simple, though, as Felix Honecker had quietly passed on some years before. John decided to take up correspondence with Newt, one of 3 children of Felix. John wanted to know what Felix remembered from the day the first bomb dropped back in 1945. Newt remembers 2 things: playing with his toy trucks and his father playing cat's cradle with a piece of string. In 1945, you see, Newt was only 6. Felix, who was not what one would call a people person, decided to try and play cat's cradle with Newt that day. Newt actually grew legitimately scared of his father in that instant. We learned throughout the novel that Felix Honecker was about the emptiest version of any definition one could give to the word father. And Newt ran out of the house, where his brother Frank and his sister Angela both struggled to console him, and they even got into a fight. John, our narrator, was next led in his research to Ilium, the town where the Honeckers had lived at the time of the atom bomb. Former high school classmates of Frank called him... Darn it, that's not the right name. No.
So this is Jess's house.
I'm Jess.
Hi, Jess. Quick, fix it while I'm distracting the audience.
No, seriously.
With technical difficulty?
Yeah, you could just done that little technical difficulty.
Are you still recording?
Yeah, so just keep going.
You were gonna take this as a video.
Well, I'd like my cameraman to come back now. I have recomposed myself.
Alright, we're ready to go. 3, 2, 1, we go.
So, former classmates of Felix called him reserved, strange, a secretive boy. He was known at times by his peers as Secret Agent X9. There could definitely be worse nicknames. In Ilium, another scientist who worked near Honecker, Asa Breed, spoke to John. He told him that Felix's wife had died in childbirth because of a pelvis injury suffered in a car accident. Asa also told John of one of Felix's favorite scientific endeavors. Felix called it Ice 9. It is sort of a tough thing to explain, this Ice 9. Basically, the idea is that everything that becomes solid crystallizes in a certain shape. That crystal shape is why something solidifies at the temperature it does, for example, water at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Felix speculated that if he could alter just one molecule of water to have a different, at that point unfamiliar crystal structure, its introduction into a pool of water, like, say, the Atlantic Ocean, would get all the water molecules to change to that crystal structure and therefore freeze at more moderate temperatures. Potentially, it could freeze all the water on Earth. When John realized that, he asked Breed if it had actually been made. Asa Breed denied it, but hey, his name's Asa, so the moral will soon become not to trust a scientist named Asa. Turns out, Felix had created Ice 9, and he distributed it to his 3 children shortly before he died. John does not learn this at the time, however. Angela used her Ice 9 to marry a handsome scientist, Harrison Connors, who worked in top-secret weapons research for the United States.
What cutie.
Newt's midget rough Russian wife, Zinka, stole his to give it to the Soviet government. Oh yeah, Newt's a midget too. Feel free to insert some kind of insensitive 2 midgets married each other joke here.
Jason
But I'm
Gunther.
not disrespectful, so...
Jason Gunther.
Jason Gunther.
J Gun.
It's not nice. Finally, Frank used the Ice 9 to get himself into a very comfortable position on the island of San Lorenzo. Throughout the novel, John, our narrator, discusses his affinity, or on occasion lack thereof, for Bokononism, a religion in existence solely on the island of San Lorenzo. It is based on the teachings of a man named Bokonon and focuses a lot on the idea of fate. John references many ideas of the religion, which, although is surely a religion, likes to deny the fact that it's a religion. One idea is that of the Karas, which is basically like a group of people who somehow are connected and will have a quantifiable influence on each other's lives, yet the people in the Karas may never really know who's in their Karas. Another idea is just that of destiny. It is not always obvious why you are somewhere, but there's always a deep reason for why you are there. Bokononism, sadly, was made up by Bokonon to be full of happy lies for the oft miserable citizens of San Lorenzo, and it was even permanently outlawed to make it seem exciting. That doesn't restrict the draw it has on John, however, as he feels like it explains his life. Now back to the story. Frank Honecker, our buddy who I just told you resides in San Lorenzo, will soon be playing a starring, well, not quite starring, more like semi kind of important role. He also happens to be engaged to the most beautiful woman on San Lorenzo, Mona. John, our narrator, is assigned a reporting story on Julian Castle, a multi-millionaire philanthropist who conveniently lives on the island of San Lorenzo. While on the plane to San Lorenzo, he meets a few more characters to add to the scope of the story. Lowe and Hazel Crosby going to San Lorenzo to open a bicycle factory, and Horlick Minton, the new American ambassador to San Lorenzo. When John arrives on the island of San Lorenzo, the truth becomes rather obvious. The island is not much of anything substantial. Everyone, save for the few in charge, seem to be poor and impoverished. However, the leader is a sight to behold. They call him Papa Manzano. No one is really sure where the Papa came from. While it is possible the people started calling that in a sort of endearing way, it seems much more likely once Papa's character reveals itself that he just coined the title himself. He is a large fellow, the kind who could be mistaken for jolly. It never becomes clear to the narrator, John, if Papa is oblivious to all his people's pain or chooses to turn the other cheek. It is not even really clear what true powers he has other than a power over the poor people of San Lorenzo who could do nothing to change the situation. John happens to arrive at the island at a convenient or inconvenient, depending on how you look at it, time. Papa Manzano has cancer, and he wants his right-hand man, Frank Honecker, to become the president of the Republic of San Lorenzo. Frank wants nothing to do with it, and he asks John to do it. John is only convinced to do it after he's told he will get to marry Mona. This cements his status as one of millions of men unsure of making a decision until an attractive lady becomes involved. So John, the narrator and American reporter, is set to become the president of San Lorenzo. And remember Julian Castle, the guy who was supposed to interview? Well, he did meet him, but nothing substantial really happened, at least in comparison to becoming the president. And to put it mildly, the process of John becoming the president is slightly different than what might happen in, the United States. Fast forward a few days later to when John is going to announce that he is now president. Papa Manzano is lying on his deathbed and really has no hope. In Baconanism, which Papa himself has outlawed, yet he believes in it, suicide is honorable. That's not the case in most religions, so let me elaborate. Baconin was creating his religion that he didn't call a religion, but it is a religion, on an island of miserable people. It seems he may have had a little sympathy for them and was therefore giving them a way out. All Baconins say before committing suicide, "Now I will destroy the whole world." Yeah, so Papa's lying in bed. He's dying. He's a member of a religion that honors suicide. So I'll let you figure out what happens next.
He dies.
While you think, I remind you that there's a supply of Ice 9 that Frank had brought to the island, and he used it to get into a position of power. Now that that thinking exercise is over, Papa was found dead, and John the reporter and soon-to-be president was called in.
Shocking.
It was obvious that Papa had put a piece of Ice 9 to his tongue, and all the water in his body had solidified.
Cool.
There's a first time for everything, like suicide by Ice 9.
Coolio.
John demanded the truth from Felix's children, and they told him that Ice 9 actually did exist. Then they went about melting it away so it wouldn't turn any other water solid, but they took a break for John to announce his presidency. Considering the circumstances, the fact that there was a plane to celebrate the ceremony might have made sense. However, the fact that it crashed into the mountain behind the castle messed that up. There was a huge landslide where much of the castle fell, and the Ice 9 that was in Papa Manzano's room and had yet to be disposed of reached the ocean water on the edge of the island of San Lorenzo.
Dun dun dun.
If you've put the pieces together, that basically turned all of the world's water supply into ice. Ice 9 to be exact. So it's solid. There's no water. No more water. There were not very many easy ways to live, being as there was not much water, and most of the island's people, being firm believers in Baconin, committed suicide. John survives, along with Frank, Newt, and the Crosbys, and he comes to write Cat's Cradle as an account of what happened. So that's a pretty crazy story. Went a lot of different directions. So why is it significant? Why is this book right here sitting on the table the whole time? Why is Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut significant? Well, Kurt Vonnegut is asking the reader to become critics of what is sacred in our lives. These can include things like religion, family, and even science. Vonnegut wants us to analyze what is actually important. He also begs the question of what makes something important. As the reader reads, thoughts flow on a number of touchy subjects, from the legitimacy of the atom bomb all the way until the end when a simple scientific endeavor was able to basically end life on Earth. Vonnegut calls us to recognize the danger in great scientific advancement in tandem with the stupidity that often befalls the human race. We have the legitimate power to destroy the Earth and have to be careful with how that power may come into play. Many scientific advancements have helped humanity, like advancements in medicine. However, many have also hurt people, like prodigious weapons, the atom bomb, chemical weapons, and more.
Texting and driving.
Amen. Drinking and driving as well.
Texting and driving.
Vonnegut asks the reader to examine the inherent issue in that, the fact that many of the same things that help humanity also lead to violence. One might sum up that theme as the dangers of scientific advancement. Vonnegut also uses this novel to examine innocence in the character of Felix Honecker, our now dead scientist friend who created the Ice Nine. Felix is a man who wanted nothing of fame or fortune. He just wanted to achieve scientific discovery. However, in his scientific discovery, he kills almost every human on Earth. First, in this case, a relatively small scale with the atom bomb, followed by the Ice Nine, which pretty much kills everybody. If none of that was Felix's goal, does that make him evil? Do intentions determine our character, or the results of our intentions? And finally, will mankind be able to withstand our often powerful advancements to continue to advance as a society, or will we just regress into moments of utter stupidity? So that's what Vonnegut wants us to think about as he writes in a satirical, sarcastic way. He wants us to think about, will our society advance, or will we wipe ourselves out in moments of stupidity? Thank you. Billy Heyen, signing off.